Shalom and welcome to 2 Minutes of Torah. This year is entitled Parsha Tisah, Moshe's Horns of Light. Famous passage at the end of Parsha Tisah. Moshe is coming down from the mountain the second time after receiving the Luchot, after the Chet Egel, the sin of the golden calf, and he's described as having these lights. He's illuminated. Of course, some famous misinterpretations and Michelangelo's rendering of Moshe with the horns coming out of his head. Already this was dealt with 1,000 years ago. Rashi writes, or the Rashbam writes, that anyone who talks about thinks that it means horns, literally, is a shota, he's a fool. Ibn Ezra quotes those who say that Moshe, after 40 days with no food and water, was emaciated and his face was cracking, and therefore it looked horrible, dried out like a horn. And of course, he says it's a ridiculous approach as well. We all know, all the commentaries, the Orthodox Jewish commentators take it to mean that he was illuminated and he was beaming from being in God's presence for all of those weeks. Nothing to do with physical horns. And because he was such an overwhelming sight, so therefore he had the veil covering his face. And there's an argument among the commentators, when was the veil on? According to the Ralbag, it was so overwhelming when he spoke to the people, that's when he had the veil on. The Akedah Yitzchak says that he doesn't know what text the Ralbag possibly have had, because the simple meaning of the psukim seemed to imply quite clearly that the veil was off when he was speaking to the people, not on. So he doesn't know how the Ralbag could say such a thing. How does that fit into the Pshat? What's amazing here is the Netziv also says that he took it off, just like Akedah says, like he took it off when he spoke to the people. But what's so beautiful here is that there's some very deep philosophical ideas going on in these 6-7 psukim at the end of Tisah. Moshe being up in the heavens with Hashem for all these days on the top of the mountain. And we cannot even begin to imagine what those 40 days were like, encountering the divine in a way that no one ever did or ever will encounter. No food, no drink. He's totally immersed in divine revelation, and he's coming down on such a high level that the people just could not relate to. And yet there's such a beautiful, simple idea in the Netziv that when Moshe came down from the mountain on a different plane than everyone else, and now it's time for him to teach the people the Torah, the Netziv says that of course he took off his veil. Why? So that people could look at their Rebbe. And any Talmud, any student that's learning from a Rebbe, he needs to look at him and see his face and see his eyes and see his excitement for Torah and have that inspiration that comes from that beautiful Talmud-Rebbe relationship. So, and of course, all the more so the people here having that exposure to Moshe for the first time since he returned from Sinai. Of course, it was crucial that they look directly at him. So it is such a beautiful commentary that with all the metaphysic and the spirituality and Moshe's level, which was just so above everyone else's, still, when it comes down to it, he's a Rebbe, and the Bnei Yisrael are his Talmid and his students, and they need to have that very beautiful personal connection. And truth, that's an amazing model for every student, young or an adult, has to have a Rebbe, has to have a rabbi who he has that contact with. We can look at him and have that connection with when he's giving shirim, when he's dealing with all parts of life. And that should be the aseh l'harav, the idea that Pirkei Avos says, the importance of having a Rebbe and having a Rav. And we learn it, of course, from Moshe Rabbeinu, that no matter how much angelic level he was on, it was crucial that he had that contact with the people, and the people had the contact with him. Shalom.